then absolutely, if we could proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Sutcliffe. And with that, if you could please proceed with the roll call for the board.
Good morning, Mr. Co-Chair and members of the board. This will be the roll call for today's special meeting, August 11th, 2026. Ms. Atkinson?
Here.
Ms. Chatterton is excused. Mr. Christensen?
Here.
Ms. Crumpton?
Present.
Ms. Downa?
Here.
Mr. Kinski?
Here.
Mr. Lance?
Here.
Ms. Legursky?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Pivick?
Here.
Dr. Schaefer?
Present.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
And Ms. Worthen?
Here.
Mr. Co-Chair, you do have a quorum today.
Fantastic. And did we have any requests for public comment?
Mr. Co-Chair, there were no requests for public comment today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Ms. Sutcliffe. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Committee Chair Nelson to discuss the Services Standing Committee contract amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Members of the board, good morning. Before us today is amendment number 2 to the light box contract originally approved back in September of 2024. The original agreement and subsequent amendment number 1 provided $1 million for Lightbox to maintain the state's broadband mapping platform and provide smart fabric data and related managed services that support broadband planning, grant administration, and program oversight activities. Since the execution of the original agreement, the Capital Projects Participation Fund, also known as the CPF grant, those timelines have been extended into 2027. As a result, we need the mapping platform, location data, and associated services to continue to be supported, monitoring to continue, which will support monitoring, reporting, compliance, and administration of these projects through their completion. So with the extension of that timeline, amendment number 2 is proposed before you to extend not only the contract timeline, but also to an accrued an additional amount of $500,000 to support the services through the extended period. Staff and committee believes maintaining these services is critical to ensuring our accurate broadband mapping, grant oversight, and program administration, and therefore recommends approval of amendment number 2. On the call with us today is Lightbox, so we could either direct questions to them, but prior to that, Mr. Marshall, or excuse me, Mr. Bowling, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't have anything to add, but yeah, you did a great job. Thank you.
Okay. So members of the board, I'll open it up to take questions or direct those questions to Mr. Bowling. Okay, pretty quiet.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lance. So I have a motion to approve by Mr. Lance, and I believe it was a second by Mr. Kinski. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries and amendment number 2 is approved. Anything to add, Mr. Bowling?
Nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, members of the board. This is really a pretty benign requirement of us as a board. It's just a contract extension, and appreciate the vote to keep these services going and help our programs continue to move forward. But with that, Mr. Co-Chair, I'll kick it back over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I'd also like to thank you, Mr. Bowling, for your efforts with Broadband and continuing this work with Lightbox and all of our other partners to make this a successful program. So with that, I will hand it over to Committee Chair Schaefer to walk through the Investments Committee challenge loan we have before us today. That's the reason why we hold this special meeting in the first place.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Good morning, board members. I'm guessing that the Services Committee just set the gauntlet for the expediency in which we need to handle this item. So I will do my best, and I will start by actually kicking it over to Bert Adam, who's going to talk about the one challenge loan program proposal and recommendation before you today. Bert.
Committee Chair Schaefer. We're going to have Madison Rothwell join us. And just for the board's knowledge, we just promoted Madison. She applied for it, but we promoted her to the loan portfolio manager from our previous role as analyst. And so Madison will be the face you'll all see going forward for all of our loans. We will have this loan today that has a finite closing date of the end of August, and that's why we needed a special board meeting, but we also have at least one more for the regularly scheduled board meeting in September. So with that, I'll hand it over to Madison to walk through this credit memo and this loan.
Thank you. Hello, committee chair, co-chair, members of the board. Bert just said the reason for this meeting is that we do have the transaction needs to close before August 21st. We risk losing the business if that is the case, and I'll give you a little bit more color here about why we recommend this for your consideration. So today I have for your consideration a loan from First Northern Bank out of Gillette, Wyoming for the succession program. The total project is $307,000. They're requesting $135,000 from the Wyoming Business Council. First Northern will be matching at $135,000, and the borrowers are coming in with a down payment of $37,000. The staff is recommending an interest rate of 5%. The bank's interest rate is 6.5, results in a blended rate of 5.75. Our portion would be fixed for 5 years and fully amortized. The borrowers are Joe and Jessica Gardner. They're taking over a longstanding business with strong reputation in the community. They bring years of entrepreneurial experience and business ownership. Jessica will be stepping in as the general manager. They don't plan to change operations, and they'll be able to utilize the knowledge and experience of the assistant manager who's been with Club Energize for more than 20 years. I'll direct your attention a little bit to the loan to value ratio, which is above 100%. That is higher than typical that you see in normal commercial lending. But we believe that the risk is mitigated through the shorter loan and in more amortization terms, as well as a strong debt service coverage ratio. We are also partially collateralized based on a conservative equipment appraisal. So the collateral is the gym equipment there. Let's see. Again, I think this is a great example of why the succession loan exists. It gives us the ability to lend on that blue sky and keep the established business within the community, something that a bank wouldn't be able to do on their own. And then our economic development fund balance right now is sitting at $13,927,927. And I will open it up for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Rothwell. First of all, congratulations on the promotion and for stepping into this role and for your work on the succession loan program. Board members, just so you know, the Investments Committee did meet and went through and had a pretty robust conversation regarding the loan. And Ms. Dunham, I know you also provided some comments and questions, but let me open it up now. Any comments or questions regarding the loan application before us today? Mr. Nelson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Committee Chair. First of all, I want to commend the committee for bringing this forward and moving at the speed of business. We have talked about that several times and our need to try to execute on these opportunities as early as possible. But the question I had, and I believe I've heard comment around it, Dr. Schaefer, if you would, is without this loan, I believe this business goes away. And so making this loan happen keeps this business in its entirety in Wyoming. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mr. Nelson, I certainly will let Madison add additional flavor to it. But yes, the timing of this is important so that we actually preserve this business and a successful business, long history in Gillette, along with recognizing the successful people that are taking it over. And that's why these succession loans are so critical. But I don't know, Bert or Madison, if you want to share anything in response to Mr. Nelson's question.
Yeah, Dr. Schaefer, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Yeah, that is correct. This business lost their general manager, and so the owners are, I think, in their late 70s, and so they're not looking to step back into day-to-day operations. This has been something that's been in the works for over a year now, and they're starting to get, they're just ready to be done and start, disinvesting, getting ready for retirement, enjoying their time with their family. And so, correct, if this doesn't go close by August 21st, they're just going to close the business. That's 27 current employees. It'd be 28 as soon as Jessica Gardner steps into the general manager position. So 28 jobs, and they're serving over 1,000 members right now in the Gillette community.
Thank you, Mrs. Rothwell, and congratulations as well on your new promotion. But I just want to make sure that we point that out to the board. That's 28 jobs that will be maintained in the state of Wyoming or potentially lost if this succession loan is not approved. Thank you, Dr. Schaefer.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nelson. And to add on to that, the economic impact on the jobs, but also the quality of life amenity that these types of facilities and businesses bring to a community like Gillette. And you can see it in their membership and just the engagement. And so really a great example of why the succession loan program is so important. And I appreciate your comments, Jason, about moving quickly, scheduling the special meeting to ensure that we can move at the speed of business. Any other comments or questions regarding the succession loan application? Yes, Ms. Dunham, please.
Thanks. Sorry about my video. It's not working today, but I just wanted to let everyone know I did have a chance to talk to Bert and Madison both about the deal, and we answered a few questions. And so I just wanted to let everyone know that I feel pretty comfortable with the proposal here.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Co-Chair, the staff's recommendation is that the Board of Directors approve the loan participation in the amount of $135,000 as presented in the information before you. And our participation will be with First Northern Bank located in Gillette, Wyoming as the lead bank. That is the recommendation. What's the board's pleasure?
I make a motion, Dr. Schaefer, to approve this.
And I'll second that, Bruce.
Wonderful. We've got a motion by Mr. Pivick and a second by Mr. Lance. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Bert, for bringing this forward. Mr. Co-Chair, we will turn the agenda and gavel back over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Schaefer. And again, I would like to echo Mr. Nelson's sentiments. I would like to say thank you to the board and the staff again for pulling this together and bringing this forward and having a special meeting to discuss this. I think it shows the importance of maintaining all small businesses and our jobs in the community. And that's another great business that I know my community benefits from, and another 28, 29 jobs that'll be retained because of it. So thank you very much for being willing to make that time. From there, Josh and I, but CEO Durrell and I would like to discuss the supplemental budget request that's being made by the Business Council as part of the 27-28 biennium. Mr. Durrell, would you like to go ahead and make a couple remarks, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. Members of the board, this is a pretty exciting time actually for all of us. We are, it seems early. We just started the first year of the new biennium budget, and we're already talking about the supplemental budget request. And so I might just do a quick history lesson. Not that anyone on this particular call on the board needs to know it, but I think it's important for the record to reflect that in the legislative session, at the beginning of this year, we were given 1 year of operating in terms of our people, our partners, and our programs in order to continue to work on what the state strategy is and to continue listening and also to continue the programs that we're working well over the course of time. And so we are in the spot where we're asking for a supplemental budget request in order to keep the doors open from January 2027 through June 30th of 2028. So again, it seems like it's early to do this, but it's right on schedule. Our budget request to the governor's office will occur at the end of this month. Our deadline for that is August 31st. I think it's also important to note that this is the first time, at least in my tenure, that the board has taken a look and made an attempt to do a formal approval of the budget before we did that. And I think this is a good sign for all of us to really take a look and say, hey, this is something that all of us together are making this budget request. We are taking it through a public process, even before it goes to the governor's office. And I'm sure we'll speak about it at the Joint Appropriations Committee later this month as well. And so it's an important element for us to do. I also want to say that while you'll see this budget as being, I think, holding true to what the supplemental budget process is intended to do, which is fund emergencies or emergent opportunities that were unforeseen during the original biennium budget request process. And so as such, it is a very basic and keeping the business council going for that July 1st, 2027 through June 30th of 2028 time period. But I also want to make just a couple observations for everyone and help everyone understand that while this budget request is very conservative and bare bones, it allows our people, our partners, and our programs to continue to run. One thing that's important to note is that you'll notice we just did an approval of a loan, and that is not part of our typical budget request process because we have loan funds that we can utilize and again keep doors open, make sure that employees are still working at that facility, and that's outside the budget process. It's also important to note that we also did an approval for a contract for all of our broadband operations, not part of our budget process because those are federal funds that we're utilizing to extend broadband and get the connectivity in Wyoming. Again, we are utilizing our programs that may not use state funds or that may use pockets of state funds that we don't have to go to the original budget process with in order to do and create a solid foundation in our economy in the state. So I think it's important to note, we also do a lot with the Business Ready or Building Resilient Communities program in our board efforts. Those funds are recurring. That means that they can carry over from one budget to the next. And our current Building Resilient Communities Fund is at about $75 million. So I think it's important to note that while we are making a very conservative and respectful ask in this particular budget, we also have the ability to utilize funds that are either federal in nature or carry over from biennium to biennium in order to do good work. I think that's an important note I know all of you know that we do a lot more than this budget ask would represent, but it still allows us to operate and leverage all of those other programs. And so again, it's a conservative budget ask. I think it's a respectful budget ask. I think that it does what the legislature intended as well as what the chief executive of the state would like to see moving forward. And then we will continue to work and have a biennium budget request that better appropriates funds to the programs that we know are important and also respects what we are learning over the course of this year. And so with that, I would, kind of humbly, if I will, have you look at this meager budget request and very conservative budget request. And then we can have some discussion about that. I'm happy to answer any questions on the request as you see it. And there are a couple notes that I'll make as we walk down through it. Mr. Co-Chair, if there's anything in particular you want me to cover that I haven't, I'm happy to do so, but perhaps maybe stepping through the budget line by line is maybe the next best course of action.
Yes, CEO Durrell, unless we've got anyone with questions right off the top, I'm with you. I would prefer let's just walk through this as a line by line. I know as we get a couple deeper into this, there's some more in-depth explanation that goes with it that will likely be helpful to the board.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Kinski.
If I could ask, I like the idea of him walking through the budget line by line. And I also, if he could give us a commentary as to the budget request that was made at the beginning of the last budget session, how much was it? In other words, he's referring to this as bare bones and meager. The board went in with something more expansive than this, and it was pared back during the legislative process. So I'd like him as he goes through, if he's talking about line X, roughly we were looking for this sort of thing, and this is what we're pared back to. What we're looking at is a mirror image of exactly what they gave us for 1 year. We're asking for that same amount for 2 years. I'd like to know what we were originally asking for, and if there's something that was completely eliminated from our original budget request, that'd be helpful to me, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to know what we originally thought we needed and what we're going in for now, if that makes sense. If my question's clear.
It does. Let me try and paraphrase just to make sure. So, Mr. Durrell, is when you go through, if there's any of these line items, I would say for the sake of this discussion that were drastically different, i.e. if the salary number or something similar, what we'd asked for previously was significantly higher. If you could annotate that. I don't think we're looking for specific dollars and cents, but just to let us know. I think the point Mr. Kinski is trying to get at is what's the differential between our initial ask and what these numbers look like.
Correct. I don't expect him to have the exact dollars. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, or Mr. Chairman. That's a good clarification.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and, Mr. Co-Chair, if you'd like, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can walk through that. And
please do.
Okay, hold on a moment. So, Mr. Co-Chair, and maybe to further sort of define Mr. Kinski's request, I'll go through this and we'll talk briefly about each of these elements. Mr. Kinski, there were a number of elements in the original budget request that we submitted last year. I believe our total was somewhere over $105 million, which included about a $50 million broadband request in order to do some redundancy in a key area of the state. It also included a budget request for the business or building resilient communities program. And so those elements obviously are not in this budget request. And so but I'll go down one by one in each of these and give you a little bit of historical context as well, if that would help. So the first line item, if you are all able to see the screen, you can see that that is the salary and benefits for the Wyoming Business Council staff for the second year of the biennium. That is what was approved in this particular legislative session, and we are simply asking for that to be repeated. That is the same as it was when we requested it. The next is so the budget unit of 101 there is the same kind of a thing. Those are just those are requests for, I believe, for the salary and benefits. And then I'll just jump to 201. That is the economic diversification. Those are the programs that we utilize. So if you can think about all of our recruiting efforts, all of our work around the state, anything that deals with our market expansion program, our Main Street program, all of that is for the second year. Those are our programs in that 201 line, that $3.7 million. You can see that has some federal funds as well as other funds from other, what we'll call them non-general funds, but they're state funds. The next line is our technology replacement program. That is a number that we get from the ETS group. That's the state's IT department. That is a standard number that they calculate for us. That is just the second year of that. That's for any replacement of our computers or any of our technology needs over the course of that second year of our biennium. The one that you might want to take a look at, and we can talk about a little bit more, is this Small Business Innovation and Research Matching Program, or SBIR. Many of you will know that is a program that we get a tremendous amount of ROI in terms of the number of jobs and the quality of jobs. And that is essentially, how do we commercialize technology from, generally speaking, from our institutions of higher education, and how do we take that technology and make it so that people are actually working in that field and commercializing businesses. In our original request last year, it was $5 million. We were looking to not only increase the amount, but we were looking to expand the legislation to allow for more matching of federal dollars for innovation grants. It turns out that over the last few years in the federal government, they have expanded their use of innovation research, and they have expanded that into other elements, and we would like to be able to match those other elements as well. So this would be best if it had an adjoining policy change, which has been submitted to the Joint Minerals Committee over the summer. And then this fund would allow us to begin funding those again. Now, one thing that's important to note is that $5 million that was requested, $0 of that were passed in the budget. So it is currently unfunded completely. One of our best programs in terms of return on investment of state dollars for matching those federal dollars and creating jobs, quality jobs, has been cut completely. And so this number would allow us to deal with the pent-up demand that is sure to happen over the course of this year, as well as fund that second year of requests. We get about a little over $1 million in requests per year for this as the program sits today. And that's, again, with a very narrow, broad band of legislation. If that is expanded and we're able to utilize this, we are going to see more of these businesses commercialized from the technology that is created at the University of Wyoming or other institutions around the state. And so this number represents what we believe will cover us, but probably not fully over the course of the next 2 years. I also think it's important to note that this particular program was called out by the Joint Minerals Committee at our first meeting as it was incredulous to many of the members on that committee that we had not been funded to do this work because it was such a key component of economic development. So that is why that number is there. Any questions on that one? I think that one might be the one that's sort of the one that sticks out as a little different than the others.
Yeah, Mr. Drell, I'm glad that you pointed out the response from the Minerals Committee in regards to that SBIR line item. I think that's one where we at least will have some support within the legislature already coming in, realizing that there's a big loss of that program over the last year. So that'd be helpful. And your first few items really were just kind of make whole continuation of second years. I guess I would ask the remaining of the board, any questions on these I guess, 5 line items before we go down into the remaining 3. Okay.
Very well,
Seeing
Mr.
none, please proceed.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. So the next 2 are really in support of our partners. And there were a lot of, we'll call it budget gymnastics last year, after the Joint Appropriations Committee and others. And so there were some elements that the calculations for them were not 100% correct for the entire biennium. And so these 2 elements make our partners whole over the course of the biennium and ensure that their programming can continue. And generally speaking, these funds will match federal funds, or they are for the Small Business Development Center or the Wyoming Women's Business Center to ensure that their programming can continue. Those are partners that help small businesses across the state, whether it be micro businesses or small businesses, with a whole host of general business needs, whether that's accounting, marketing, business plan creation. Those partners do that work. These 2 elements are intended to true up those asks and ensure that they can match all of the federal funds that they have and continue their programming over the course of the next 2 years. Before I move on to the next one, I do want to make a quick note about our partners and ensure that everyone is aware. Our partners, those are folks like the Small Business Development Center or Manufacturing Works or the Wyoming Women's Business Center. Those partners are still finalizing their numbers. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that we gave them an original deadline of the end of August to provide their final numbers to us. And because we're doing this piece here, those numbers may change a little bit if they're able to get more federal funding that we didn't contemplate at the time of creating this. And I just want everyone to know that those numbers may change a small amount, and we'll be able to report on the final numbers at our September board meeting. But by and large, our intent has been and will always be to represent and pass through the money that our partners need to do their jobs. We don't necessarily say no, you can't, or yes, you can do these things. We are in many cases simply the pass through for their matches for federal funding or operations for them to do their work over the biennium. We work closely with them, and we see them as an important way to fill any gaps that we might have on the business side. But we, typically speaking, represent their need fully to the Joint Appropriations Committee. And so with that, I just want you to know that the $109,212 that we might ask for today could be slightly more depending on the Small Business Development Center's requirements by the end of the month. And I just wanted to clear that up in case that the numbers are different as we submit the final budget to the governor's office.
Perfect. Thanks for giving us the heads up on those. I know this is kind of the season for everybody, and we've kind of moved the goalpost a little bit on those partners. So
yep.
Appreciate that sentiment.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. And then the final item.
Any opportunity we can help our partners to leverage more federal funds, I think the better. So
exactly.
Sorry, I think I just walked over somebody, but I'm not quite sure who.
Mr. Co-Chair, that was me, so it's no problem at all. It's part of the gig. Mr. Co-Chair, the last item there is something that we feel is a need that was demonstrated, I think, really powerfully over the course of the many years that we've been working on economic development at the local level. But it's this idea that at a local level and at the state level, we need an analysis tools, and we need analysis support from partners in order to do some of the economic research as well as the economic analysis that is required to make sure that we're making good decisions with our programs and our policies. And so I think it's important for us to relay this need, which was approved by the governor, Mr. Kinski, in this last biennium budget, but did not make it through the legislature, and make sure that we represent that this analysis is still important and it's needed at not only a local level, but at the state level. And so we believe that this funding is important. It was included in our straw man at the beginning of the summer, and we would recommend putting it into our request from the governor at the end of this month. And I'm happy to speak a little bit to it, but I'm also happy to bring in others who might be able to talk about the nitty-gritty of that particular ask.
I would just like to add one remark, and then maybe we'll bring some more folks to bring in to talk through the nitty-gritty. But I know that one of the biggest things that we've heard out of the governor's office is the support for this state and local analysis, especially around the idea of regional planning, and also using that as something to tier off of with some of these statute changes we're already looking at and working with legislature on, and really support biennial, the increase in the budget request for the biennial, and also any other program changes. So really using this as some scaffolding to build off of, to go for that next step of further development, iteration, both with our agency, but more in particular to help our regions to be able to do the same. So that's kind of the idea behind this ask, to really work with that. The governor is wholeheartedly behind it. And I think one of the parts that you may have missed, Josh, but I think is important, is that last line, that it's a tool that we can use in 27 and future biennia going forward. So this is something that's an investment in the state, not just for the year, but for as a building block, as a scaffold to move forward. So, Mr. Christensen, I just saw your note in the chat. Is there anything in particular, or do you just want Mr. Durrell to proceed for now, and then you'll ask your questions as we get further along?
Josh, if you want to do a brief piece on it, then I have a couple questions. I think this is I'm interested in what you're thinking here, because this is one of the things I've said that I think we could do a better job of. And so I want to know the specifics of it and what you're thinking it's tailored to. And then it may not be questions, it may be feedback on how we convey that to governor's office and legislature, but I'm interested first on exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah, Mr. Christensen and Mr. Co-Chair, through you, the idea here is that there are a number of technology tools that are available to us, and there is a great amount of data that we have either utilized or analyzed or can expose to the world and then use through those tools, so that we can really open up the idea that at a local level you can ask questions. Imagine a WBC GPT type of a situation where you're asking questions of the technology. It's analyzing all of the research that we've already done. It is looking out there and utilizing economic concepts to help people get a little bit closer to the solutions. You can, I'm sure you can relate to the fact that we are kind of really a problem-focused organization, where we, rather than throwing solutions out at people, we are encouraging communities and other groups to look deep at the problems that they have, rather than just throwing solutions on the wall. And this would be a toolkit that would allow that to be done at a more widespread basis.
Okay, so this is where I want to go. And then when I hear local analysis and support, it depends on what we can do. I think one of the biggest gaps in local government is the communities that can afford to prep for federal grants and things are also the communities that can afford to pay for them generally themselves. The ones that can't still have no ability to do that. And so when I look at analysis, what I really want is I want some of the smaller towns and some of those other communities to be able to access like basic civil engineering and basic pieces like that, so that they can prep federal grants, MRG grants, like other things like that. I think that is a real gap. And I don't know how it's best delivered. I don't know if it's delivered contractors. I don't know if it's delivered maybe a couple people. I don't know how it is. But when I look, that's where I see a lot of gap in terms of local analysis. And I think a lot of the time, I think that there's part of this that on the regional piece, you're exactly correct, that they need some guidance and some access to information. But I also think that sometimes they actually know what needs to be done. It's just that they don't have the funding to get the person to do it, or the technical skill to actually manage it if it's a contractor.
Yeah, thanks for those insights, Mr. Christensen. I think your experience at the county level and experience with other boards and things that gives you a really unique perspective. I think one thing we want to make sure that we do, and this is something that I think we see very clearly, is that we will likely start pretty small. We will probably not boil the ocean, and or even try to do that, because I think that's where you can get in a lot of trouble is doing that. But I think we will start and try to be as deep as we can with the expertise and the data that we've gathered over the years. And then we'll take a look at what problems exist after that. But yeah, I think your commentary is right on. There are a number of challenges there. So thanks for that insight.
And Mr. Christensen, I think, and then on to you, Dr. Schaefer, but I think that's part of what we're almost trying to uncover, if you will, is if we see that there's a need like you just described in the engineering, hopefully that's something we can bring to light and then figure out what's the best framework around providing those kind of services, and whether that's us or whether that's somebody else. I think there's a lot of those thoughts around anecdotal or firsthand, we've seen it. Great, how can we do the analysis on the state level, but more importantly, the local and the regional level, to support, well, we need one engineer versus we need three. Well, we need this service versus this, to really kind of put that, to help lay that groundwork of how do we build going forward. But those are some fantastic insights, Mr. Christensen. I appreciate it. Sorry, Dr. Schaefer, I saw your hands up.
Mr. Co-Chair, I heard somebody else, maybe Mr. Christensen, had a follow-up, or did I?
No, that was me, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I think I'm going to make three things that I really appreciate Mr. Christensen's comments here, and I want to clarify something, and then maybe Ty, where I hope we can get downstream with our budget. So the first thing, what I like about this request is, and I think I have this correct, Josh. So correct me if I'm wrong. This is a large request for essentially a block grant that ties to a general need that we have, and that's really providing information to help both the state and local entities do economic development. I believe that I would like to see a future where we are far more plan or strategy driven and far less prescription driven from legislative programs. And so this is a nice move to say, hey, look, we have a strategy. We have things we know we can do. Those things are going to evolve in a very uncertain environment that we live in. And so we need the flexibility as an organization to do that. So the first thing I would say is getting this and having the ability to apply this in a way that makes sense at the state level and the local level, and the flexibility for the organization, and not to be tied to exactly how a program is spelled out in statute, I think is important. So that's the first question, because I think that's what this funding would allow us the flexibility to do. The other two things that I would say that I think are just important points. One of our big lifts coming forward is to provide an economic development strategy to the next governor. It's one of the goals we've given Josh. It's part of the organizational goal. We're going to need to have resources to help us shape and form that. Some of that may be data and analysis, and maybe consulting services, maybe other things. Having resources to be able to engage in that process at the state level and at the business council level is going to be important. I'm hoping that there's flexibility within this appropriation to do that, should we decide to move in a direction where we need resources to help us develop that strategy. And then the last piece I'll just share, because Mr. Christensen brings this up. One of the things we've yet to resolve is really the business council's role in doing the very things that Mark brought up. There is no doubt that some of our smaller communities could use support and resources from infrastructure to grant planning to basic needs delivery. Those are important to creating livable communities. Livable communities, of course, are important to economic prosperity to do that. So there is a tie. The question is that truly the role of the business council to provide those services, access to engineering expertise? And I'm not saying it is or it isn't. There may be a role where we can serve as that technical assistance broker with it. We'll have to figure that out. What I like about this request is it's an appropriation that gives us the flexibility to kind of tinker around all those areas. And when we choose a path or see the need, we can actually use the resources to get there. And so that's a long-winded sort of statement, but Josh, tell me, am I on track there with this request?
Mr. Co-Chair and Dr. Schaefer, that's exactly right. And that theme and that flavor of sort of block grant has an interesting connotation, I think, from time to time. But I think the flexibility to do what's right in and understanding our mission, which again we're continuing to work to hone what's right for the role of the Business Council, and so that not only do we have this budget item that gives us that flexibility, but we're also working closely with, and the Joint Minerals Committee was very, I would say, very open and amenable to taking our statute and making it a lot less prescriptive so that we can solve the big challenges as they change. We've had, and hopefully we get it cleaned up this year, but we've had things on the books that are years and years old and had sunset, and they're still being carried around. And I think that flexibility and that idea that we should have some guardrails, but the flexibility to operate inside it is not just in a budget perspective like this item does, but also from a statute perspective. And I think that those two things are coming together, frankly, in a time when I see a lot of optimism and a lot of opportunity coming in the coming year to be able to do just that. And so you're right. You're also right, Dr. Schaefer, in reminding everyone that with the new governor, we will create a new statewide economic development strategy in partnership with that governor. And so that's an element that we're going to need the analysis support. We're going to, yes, do we have a lot of ideas and do we have a lot of the data? Yes, but do we need extra support to do that? 100%. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's something a lot of times people forget. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Kinski.
Yeah, thank you. Mark brings up a very good point. Besides the request that we have here with respect to what the governor would like to see, and I've seen this multiple times in my legislative career where we've tried to find somebody in the state bureaucracy that can help these people get these grants, and it hasn't really gotten any traction. Interesting that it comes back to the Business Council as the people that can get it done. That's a compliment, I think. Without that, I've always felt that we have the flexibility to do what we used to do. It was called a planning grant. And I know we've consolidated a lot of our funds to where we don't stick all these individual labels on them. Now we're building resilient communities or whatever the title is. But within that, there's the opportunity for planning grants. And at SLIB, in a different context, it was not unusual for a small community, come in and say, here, we need this money. And you'd look at it, they'd look at it and say, you know what, here's some money, go out and get an engineer, start applying for some federal funds, find some other money, and come back when you've got a better developed plan. And then we're not just telling you get the plan, here's the money to go get the plan. And I think we would be well advised, if we don't already, in many instances to do that, because Mark is absolutely right. These small communities just do not have the resources. And every once in a while, you see some of the larger communities that come in with something where they're kind of floundering around a little bit, where they need some direction of saying, look, here's some planning money. We'll see you in 2 quarters. So I think Mark is just spot on. It's spot on, and with or without this money, I think we should start taking some of these smaller communities under our wing. Is it our role? Well, everything's connected in one way or another. If the small community needs some help getting their act together, whether it's on engineering for infrastructure or housing or whatever they're coming in for, if you improve them in one way, you improve them in every way. There's no place else for them to go. That's my perspective on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Kinski. And I think the importance of this whole discussion we've had just right here is around that need for better understanding what communities, what regions, what our state needs, and having a good approach to get it to them, whether it's the Business Council or not. And Mr. Kinski, you raised a very strong point that oftentimes it does end up falling on the Business Council, because the Business Council is an organization that gets in, rolls up their sleeves, and gets stuff done. And it's a blessing and a curse to be the one who knows how to roll up your sleeves and do work. So I think that's where we're at right now, is how do we continue that and hopefully bring a few more people along to roll up their sleeves and help us get the work done. So with that, I know we're getting really close to our 11 o'clock hard stop. So I would entertain a motion here to approve this budget. Obviously giving that flexibility as we've mentioned around our funding for our partners.
Mr. Chairman,
Co-chair?
I make a motion that we approve this.
Yep.
I'll
Sorry,
second.
Dr. Schaefer.
Mr. Co-chair, sounds like you...
Schaefer or Mr. Pivick. I don't know which. I kind of got you both at the same time.
Sounds like you have a motion for Mr. Pivick and a second on the table as well, I think, from Ms. Crumpton.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah,
Schaefer.
thanks.
Perfect.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, I hit a lag there real quick. Thank you, Dr. Schaefer.
Mr.
So we
Chairman.
have a motion to approve. Hold on. Mr. Kinski, was that you?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, discussion on the motion, Mr. Chairman. I would approve the motion and I would move to amend to ask the executive director to take a couple of weeks and bring back an amended budget, which restores our budget request to where we were at the beginning of the last session, when what the Business Council was doing was asking for what it truly needed to fulfill its mission. Josh, our executive director, as he went through, made mention of a number of programs that were completely zeroed out. I'm sure there were other programs that were cut back, and he characterized this as a bare bones budget, meager. So this is not what we need. This is what we think, I guess, we can get by with for now. But the problem is people out there are hurting. The housing costs are out of control. People want better paying jobs. The exodus of our youth out of the state due to housing costs and a lack of opportunity just continues unabated. And we have heard from these listening sessions what I've heard for 40 years, which is we need this business council to stand up and make its case, whether it's to JAC or anybody else, that there is a mission that we have been charged with, and that is to build the current economy of the state of Wyoming and build the economy of the future. And one of the biggest barriers we've seen to economic development is housing. And so going forward with a bare bones, meager budget is not going to fulfill what I think people out there need. You know, some legislators last session wanted us gone. Some wanted us to retool, come back, be clearer on our direction. I think we've done that. Some were supporters, like I've always been, in every 10 years I was in the session. I think we just need to put that original budget request on the table and make our case for it to the public. And I know we've got some money in the bank. That's great. But you and I, we all know that that money can be dissipated fairly quickly if we are on mission and really delivering what people expect us to deliver. So, Mr. Executive Director, I appreciate what you're doing here. I just think that we need to go back to what we originally asked for, because I wasn't on the board then, but I believe you believed then that that's what you really needed to deliver. And that's what I think we need to ask for. So my motion to amend is that we take a couple of weeks and have our executive director come back with the original legislative ask, and that's what we take to JAC. That's what we take to minerals. And I get it. The governor said it has to be an emergency. I was on JAC. I've seen lots of agencies come in with things that are not emergent. I think we have a compelling, odd situation here that we came in with what we needed. We were pared back to this little bit and just barely scraped through in terms of being sustained for 1 year. But I think we heard the message. I think we've worked to deliver. And I think we need to go back to what we really know we need. That's my motion to amend.
Mr. Co-Chair?
Okay, so yes, Mr. Pivick.
I do not recommend that we make an amendment. I think right now we need to be a little humble with the political environment that we have. I think we keep it where we're at. We be humble and let's let the new governor help guide us into another era next year. I would not approve to amend what we have out there right now.
Okay, so that eliminates it being a friendly amendment and would make this turn into a standard amendment. So I would be asking if there is any second.
I'll second it.
So we have a second from Mr. Christensen. Then do we have any debate on the amendment itself? I think we heard Mr. Pivik's response there. Any further?
Mr. Chairman, I would
Dr.
just say, oh, excuse me, I'm
Dr.
sorry.
Schaefer.
Mr. Co-Chair, I was just going to say, I actually appreciate Mr. Kinski's amendment and the energy. I feel the urgency. I think that we probably, I would land on the original motion. We need to move with some prudence. I think there is flexibility, especially as we see how the gubernatorial election and the other elections plan out, to meet the governor's expectation and the board's guidance thus far. I think we stick with the budget as proposed, but certainly remain nimble as we move into the legislative session. And if there's places and ways in which we can accelerate the work to meet the urgency that Mr. Kinski, I'm all there, but I would be against the amendment.
Fantastic. Ms. Atkinson, Ms. Nelson, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Kinski.
I am also against the amendment for the exact reasons stated above. I think we have some new opportunities coming up, but we need to stay the course right now.
Thank you, Ms. Atkinson. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I too appreciate Mr. Kinski's urgency and desire to make an impact within the state. I do believe that the proposed amendment is in alignment with our board goals that we established early on in the year, and will help push us towards an additional budget approval in future years that would lead us to exactly what Mr. Kinski is pushing for. The only thing that I would propose is, along with the proposed amendment, is that allowance for staff to make minor adjustments as needed based on budgets that are submitted from our partners.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
I would regard that Mr. Nelson's amendment to the amendment as a friendly amendment. Bruce, I have all due respect for what you're saying, and I think we have been humbled. We've been hat in hand. We've been doing the listening sessions as directed. We've been doing a lot of interior work, at least during the time that I've seen. I've been impressed by the board and the director and the staff, and they're looking at our mission and rededicating themselves. I think we've been put through the ringer. I think we've come out the other side better for it. And so I'm not proposing an act of hubris, which would be the opposite of humility. I'm proposing that we have a case to make, that we stand up for the Business Council, we stand up for what our original mission is, and that we do so with pride. And I believe that the support is there, if not from JAC, certainly from the legislature, the new governor coming in, the new legislature coming in. I just think we have to lay out on the table what we think is appropriate, not what we think we can get by with on life support. I think the best offense or the best defense is a good offense, and we just need to lay on the table what we really need. That's my perspective. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Kinski. Mr. Pivik, do you have anything briefly? If not, I'd like to move to take a vote on the amendment, and then we can come back to the original motion.
No, I'm okay. I just think that the political, Mr. Co-Chair, I think that the political arena right now is we need to just be very humble. From what I know and who I've talked to, we need to be very humble.
Fantastic. So with that, we have a motion and a second on Mr. Kinski's amendment. I'd like to first take a vote on that. A vote in favor is a vote in favor of his amendment. A vote opposed is a vote not accepting the amendment to the original motion. So with that, would all in favor please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
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 So the amendment does not pass. And with that, we will go back to the original motion from Mr. Pivik. I do think in our discussion, there was a friendly amendment buried in there from Mr. Nelson to allow flexibility of the staff in regards to this budget around numbers that may come in from our partners adjusting. Is that one, Mr. Pivik, that you would allow as a friendly, or that we would allow as a friendly amendment?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine, Dave.
I don't have a yes or no on that one.
Okay. Well, is there any opposition, I guess? Hearing none, by my understanding of Robert's rules, then that's accepted as an amendment to the motion, and we can proceed with a vote saying vote to approve the budget as proposed, but allowing staff the flexibility to adjust for partner funding requests as necessary, and that CEO Durrell and staff will report back to us at our next board meeting with where those numbers have landed. So with that, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign.
No. Or aye.
Both are good, Mr. Kinski. Thank you so much. So with that, the motion to approve the budget carries. I think we did bring up an interesting and important discussion, but these things are all very fluid, and the need for a bigger ask from conversations I've had with staff and the majority of our board. I think we all want to see bigger, bolder action, but we just need to see where the current climate of the state takes us and adjust accordingly. So with that, I would again like to thank everybody. I know CEO Durrell has a couple closing comments. I'll let him finish, but I just want to thank you all for jumping onto this special meeting. For those of you that were able to participate either in whole or part with us at the board retreat in Cheyenne, thank you so much for your time and your commitment. And I look forward to seeing you all here in Gillette next month. So with that, CEO Durrell, I know you have a couple closing comments, and then we'll adjourn.
Yeah, Co-Chair Smith, thanks. And members of the board, thanks for jumping on today to move at the speed of business, to take care of some program needs that are really important to the state. I think it shows our breadth and depth that we work in. I do want to address the budget. It is, I think we are seeing the same challenge within our board that we see outside of the state. And what I want to say is that we have been traveling across the state this year, this summer especially. I think last week in a span of 48 hours, we hit 8 different events up in the Bighorn Basin in Fremont County. And what I want everyone on this call to know is that, yes, we are in a very interesting political time. And unfortunately, or fortunately, we live in that time, and it is what it is. I also recognize that we were created in our structure and in our quasi-agency status to be separate from that. And so it is hard to separate from that when you live so close to it. What I want to say is that what we are experiencing with this sort of like little bit of discourse is what Wyoming is experiencing. And what I can tell you and what I believe is that in a couple of weeks, I do believe it will be different.
Watch this.
I believe.
Anti-weaponization. Do you think it's still alive at this point? And are there any options?
Mr. Lance, if you don't mind muting yourself, that'd be good. Sorry, buddy. Thank you. What I believe is that we are experiencing what we talked about here is what's being experienced across the state. There is a great amount of optimism for where this state can go. There is a great amount of potential for where we can be as a state. And it's being held back right now by forces that don't make any sense. And so what I want all of you to understand and to recognize is that I do believe that the Business Council will lead in this effort. We will work on the policies, investments necessary to take this state to a place where there is economic opportunity. And I believe that we're on that path. What we have seen across the state is, frankly, a pent-up frustration at being held back or being told no. And I think that's going to change. And so I'm glad that we have gone through this budget. I'm glad that we had that discussion. It accurately represents the frustration of Wyoming and the bottling up of a lot of potential that I think is going to be unleashed. And I'm, for one, super excited about it. Will we go a little slower at the start? Maybe. But will we get to where we want to be? 100%. I believe this group, this team, the team of thousands that we're talking with and creating out there is going to be very loud about where we want to see the economy. And these are steps toward it. So thank you for doing that work today. But I also want to say to all of the board and for the team and the people who are out there watching right now, on Thursday at noon, we will have a virtual huddle of Team Wyoming where you should come and hear what we've been hearing, understand the state of the agency, get to hear you share your thoughts in polling, and make our voice very loud that we are unsatisfied with the status quo and that we believe that Wyoming not only can achieve, but deserves to achieve better. And I want to see all of you get out there and bring your friends. Now, board members, I'm going to address you really quickly. I just want to say, Dr. Schaefer is rocking the world when it comes to getting registrations for our webinar. I think all of you can beat him. I know he's a formidable opponent. However, I think you can take him down and get your networks activated and get them to show up. Again, if you go to wyomingbusiness.org, there's a link at the very top of the homepage that will allow people to register. Please get your friends, bring people here so that we can have their voice shared with the people across the state that are in power today. And with that, I will say thank you for all of the work today and the work over the course of the last few months, which has been very difficult. And the work, I'm gonna ask you for more work over the next few months, because I do believe we have pent-up demand, frustration, and excitement for where Wyoming can be. And I think we need to help unbottle it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durrell. I think that was a perfect conclusion of that, and look forward to the discussions on Thursday. Hope to see all of you on there and your friends and your family and everybody else, even your enemies, for Pete's sake, because we want to hear from everybody. So with that, thank you so much. Dr. Schaefer, the prize for winning is TBD, but it will be more than just a Laurel and Hardy handshake. I can tell you that much. So with that, we will go ahead and adjourn. We're only 12 minutes past our hard stop, but we'll adjourn at 11:12. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.